Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going around for a tour of Trinity College and I'm super excited for this video because I think this is definitely one video that there aren't enough of on YouTube, college tours. But anyway, here we are. We're starting in Front Quad, which is unique in Oxford because we have basically lots of gardens and that's very rare for a front quad in Oxford. The reason for that is this wasn't actually the first quad that Trinity College had, and therefore it's not kind of this central quad which is often typical of Oxford where it just has buildings around. But that was really nice for us because basically we have loads of space, it looks very green, so that's really nice. Yeah, so let's go around and see what we can see. Things to point out, this building here, this is what we call Staircase 1, right at the back, and that's called the Cottages, and that was acquired in the 17th century. So all of this quad here is basically became part of Trinity in the 17th century, which is not the oldest part, we're going to go to that next. So that's the 17th century. Across here, Staircase 5, 6 and 7, that's what we call the Jackson building, named after the architect, Mr. Jackson, something like that probably. Of course, we don't really use these names like the colleges and the cottages, sorry, and the Jackson buildings. We just call it Staircase 1 or Staircase 5, 6, 7. But that was made in 1883 to 1885. So those things are also quite modern compared to the rest of the college, which we're going to see in a second. Jackson also planted these nice trees that we see. These two here, I believe, are cedar trees, and the one we're just coming back to, which just goes onto the chapel, is Persian ironwood. So there we go, those are the trees I've learnt for today. I had all of this information crammed in my head for the last 30 seconds. The other reason for going to the oldest part of the college first is because there's the most to learn about it, so it's good for me to crab it, get out of the way, and then we're done with it. But okay, we can see basically we're coming now to the end of Front Quad, and we're going to go into the second quad, which is called Durham Quad. The reason it's called Durham Quad is because originally Trinity College was called Durham College, and it's because it had, oops, the wire's going over, brilliant. This part of the college was originally called Durham College because Benedictine monks from Durham Cathedral used this space to learn. So it was originally from there, and that's roughly the 13th century. And after that, it was bought by Trinity College later and became Trinity College in 1555. Okay, so here we are in Durham Quad, and what can we see? We have everything we need for an Oxford college, really, which is somewhere to work. That's the old library. That's actually the only bit of Durham Quad that hasn't changed. We can't go in there, but I do have some videos to overlay because I did manage to get in during term time. Here we have the cathedral, the little chapel as it were, and we're going to go in there in a second as well. But obviously, your monks need to pray as well. And then behind us, we have the dining hall. So that's all you need, right? Somewhere to learn, somewhere to pray, and somewhere to eat. Okay, amazing. Here we have Durham Quad, and let's start here. Let's start in the chapel. Hopefully it's empty and we can go in and see what there is there. I do kind of hear the semblance of piano, so I wonder if it is empty. We might have to come back later. We're going to try to do this all in one shot if possible. We'll come back. Okay guys, we've come back later. We've got our way into the chapel, so let's see exactly what there is. If we come into the chapel, we have this kind of little atrium first, with a grand piano, some nice artwork, and apart from that, the rest of the interesting stuff, I guess, is inside the chapel. This chapel is actually used quite a lot, as maybe all the Oxford colleges are. We have evensong at least once a week, and there are plenty of other things that go on. For example, recently we had World War II and World War I memorial service and stuff like that, so this room does get used. We have a choir in Trinity. It's actually non-auditioning, which means anyone can join, and you don't have to audition for it. But our music students, who might be choral scholars, that is to say, they get a small scholarship because they're amazing at singing and sing in a choir, obviously go to a different choir in order to sing there instead, because this one's not necessarily known as being one of the best choirs, but it is known as being a friendly one because, you know, it's non-auditioning. Okay, amazing. Let's turn around and let's quickly just look at the organ. We have one organ scholar who kind of is in charge of all the music here, because I guess we don't really have a director of music or whatever that role's quite called in order to, you know, run the choir and stuff like that, because again, it's not one of those choirs. Some Oxford colleges have these kind of ones and some don't. We also have really nice ceiling art, by the way, as maybe we're turning around, we can come look at the ceiling. But the last thing to do, I guess, is to talk about the founder of our college, which is Sir Thomas Pope. And Sir Thomas Pope, the reason to talk about it here, is actually buried here with his wife as well, Lady Elizabeth. And these are the two that set up the college in 1555. So that's exactly what's going on there. This side here is empty, but apparently that's where Lady Elizabeth would go afterwards to look at the body and also maybe to join in some of the ceremonies, because women weren't allowed in sort of the main part of the chapel. But Sir Thomas Pope, even though he actually had two wives, he didn't actually have any children. So he decided he would want to be buried here so that the future generations of Trinity students could sort of pray for his soul and keep him in mind, which is exactly what happens. And, you know, hopefully in my small little way through this tour, I guess that's continuing again. So if it weren't for Sir Thomas Pope, we wouldn't have this college. But there we go. That's all to say there is about the chapel. Durham Quad is actually the only bit of the Oxford College Trinity that really looks like a quad. That is to say, kind of 4 sides around a patch of grass, which is interesting because we're going to see more stuff like front quad in a second, which isn't like that. But if we see at the top, we actually have 4 statues, which are 4 women that represent the 4 ancient disciplines. Let's see if I can remember them. One of them is medicine. The next one's astronomy, not astrology, astronomy. The third one is theology. There's a 4th one. This is the 4th one I always forget. Can I remember what it is? I might have to come back to it. I'll probably put it on screen if I haven't by then. But there we go, that's that. So that's really interesting. All this stuff I've learned about my college today that I didn't know before. But let's go into the dining hall now and see what the dining hall's like. Okay, brilliant. The dining hall is free. Okay, here we are. This is Trinity's dining hall. It's kind of a stereotypical dining hall. We have the long tables and we have a high table. That's for the scholars or the tutors or those people to sit. And often we can eat here breakfast, lunch and dinner, but 4 times a week we actually have formals. Formals means, as you've seen, if you've seen one of my formal videos, people come and serve you the food. You have to dress up in a gown, but that's what we have with this. And behind us we have the Christmas tree as well, which is obviously not a permanent addition, but this hall actually is getting redone. It's getting changed and they're going to do some renovation to make it look like how it was apparently supposed to look. So after this term ends, this hall's going to be shut for quite a while, so it's a good thing that we can do the tour now. And along with some of the older paintings we have some new, which were done in 2017, what's known as Feminae Trinitatis, the women of Trinity. And so these are some lovely portraits to kind of, I guess, make it more diverse. But this is the kind of thing that after the renovation, they're going to make sure all the frames match up, everything looks really nice, and it doesn't look maybe how it does right now, which is they were put on as a bit of an afterthought, as was the case, but hopefully it will all match very nicely. Amazing. So we come out and we have this lovely thing also here. Lovely picture of some tutors, but we're going to take a shortcut now and see actually my favourite part of college, which is next to the dining hall, which is our college bar, what we call the beer cellar. The beer cellar is obviously a bar by night, but during the day it basically functions as a bit of a cafe, and I really enjoy spending time here. There's someone here. I don't know if we should go in. Yeah, let's go in, let's film, who cares. Okay. So what to say about the beer cellar? Obviously, between the times of roughly 3 and 5, it is closed, so we can't get drinks. But in the morning time, normally we can get teas and coffees and hot chocolates, and in the evening times, we can get stuff like beer and other alcohol of your choice. But we spend a bit of time here. The table tennis is free. We have some pool and some darts as well. But this is a really nice space. Sometimes we do bops down here, which are these parties. We have one tonight. That's another great video which I'm really looking forward to. The theme is villains. But this is a really nice space that I think is underused. Unfortunately, again, it's being closed for the renovations with the kitchen. So that's a shame because sometimes I really do enjoy working here. I sit down here with some friends. It's always this empty. I don't know why it's so underused. I was really surprised to see someone in here earlier. But apart from the fact there's no computer or plugs or wires, everything else is literally perfect about this space. It's quiet, it's always warm, it's been pretty cold recently, so this is basically the perfect place to work, and it's actually definitely my favourite place in college, and I think it's super underrated. So there we go. That is linked to the dining hall, but let's come out the other exit as well. Let's go this way. Hard to walk up the stairs differently, you know, because you want to walk up backwards. Okay, amazing. So here we go, we've just come out of Durham Quad, we just went in through there for the dining hall and we've come out, but let's carry on going through to the next quad now. We're making good progress on this tour. We might have to overlay footage of the chapel separately. Okay, amazing. So here we are in Garden Quad. Again, imagine the marquee's not there. You see, again, whilst it's called a quad, it's not really a quad, is it? It's a nice bit of concrete, and then we come onto some grass, but it's definitely not a quad, which is 4 bits of walls around and then some grass in the middle. This is 3 at an absolute maximum. What to tell you about this quad? This is where a lot of the second years live, I guess. So if you're living around here, you're probably a second year, and they often live in what's called sets, which is 2 of them living together, and they have a shared living room as well. So that's a really nice place to live. These blue gates we've seen a few times, but now I guess this is splitting us from one part of Garden Quad into another. and we can see this building here, which they promised us is not permanent, but looks increasingly permanent. This is called the Lawns Pavilion. It's got a bit of a library space in the sense that you can work there. There are some desks, and also it's got a meeting room which we can see here, which some people do tutorials in. But although they just said this is part of the renovations, which of course you can see there's renovations going on around, it's now got its own little flower bed, it's got its own little plumbing, it's got a little dining hall. Well, it's going to become a dining hall in a second, so it looks like this may never ever go, which is fine. It's kind of a nice space, although it still does get cold, and that's something we could have avoided, hopefully. But as we're coming down, we have the second entrance or exit to Trinity, which we should talk about, and that one takes you kind of towards University Parks and Wooden Way. And some of the subjects use this, not us so much. The medics, I think, like to use it. Some of the chemists, biochemists, their kind of stuff is that way, so that's a useful entrance and exit for them, although I don't use that one that much. Okay, amazing. We're coming up to the next part of college now, which is going back onto Front Quad, but on the way we're going to see the Levine building, which is something that's very exciting and something that's being built recently. But whilst we do that, we have this is the famous bench, smoking bench. People like to come out of the library, have a bit of a smoke there, so that works for them. And next to it we have the Fellows Garden. The Fellows Garden is for fellows, that's, I guess, tutors and people like that again. So we're never really allowed in there, and everyone wants to know what's on the other side. But luckily, I've managed to sort it for you guys. And if you go into one of the buildings on Durham Quad and look out the windows, you can see what the Fellows Garden looks like. So I have you guys sorted. There'll probably be right now an overlay of footage. It's actually not that exciting, but yeah, worth seeing anyway, I guess. So here we have the Levine building. The Levine building is one of the new buildings that's being built mostly for graduate accommodation. But this year it's going to be for second years as well, because obviously they had such a big year of COVID year and everyone got their offers, so they're trying to... Okay, so here we are 6 months later. I think this is roughly where I left you. We can see they've done the grass really nice. It's actually amazing now. And we're going to go into that building just behind, which is new, in just a second. But I wanted to bring the tour back for just a second as well, because looking over the old footage, this bit here had loads of building sites going on. Now it's beautiful. I did wake up early, so it's not so sunny yet, in order so I could film. But this is beautiful, this lawn. It makes a huge difference to the college. Makes it look much nicer. So there we go. We'll step back this way now. Okay, so here we are at the new building. We'll come around this side first. They've already also made the grass really nice recently, which is amazing. But just through here we have the cafe, which is where we're going to go in first. So there we go, here's the cafe, nice little space for people to work in, and people definitely do work in here. It's supposed to be a bit of a collaborative area, a bit of a loud space where people can work and speak. So that's that. The auditorium's closed, I've already checked that. But then if we come here, this is the library extension. Lovely place to work recently, and I came 8 o'clock to make sure no one else would be here to film. I guess we'll show college laundry now. That's probably interesting as well. College laundry, we use circuit laundries. I think a lot of the colleges do, and it's fine. It works all right. People complain about the prices and maybe it's going to change, but the laundry room works fine. So if I do have my key on me, hopefully we can see the laundry rooms, which is maybe something worth seeing and something a bit exciting. It'd be embarrassing if there are people in here now to film whilst they're just doing their laundering. Let's quickly have a look. A laundry room, what to expect, right? I guess though, if people are a bit impatient, that's what happens. People chuck some stuff up to the next thing and they put theirs in, which I guess is fine, but there we go. The laundry, I use the laundry about every fortnight, so I've used it 3 or 4 times this term. Works all right for me. Something that does get procrastinated though. So let's keep on going round and let's see if we can see the JCR now, which is back on the other side of main quad, or front quad I should say really. This is good because obviously it's in the Jackson building, which is near all the freshers, and the freshers tend to be the ones who like to use the JCR. So I wonder if we can go in. Let's see, we went in earlier and there were people filming, as I think might still be the case. Brain freeze callbacks, whatever that might mean. But if I get my trusty fob out, honestly, if you lose this fob, you really have nothing. Something else to come back to in B-roll, I think. Okay, no worries, no worries. Let's go. Okay, fine. So we'll keep on going. We'll see a tiny bit around college there. But in the meanwhile, let's talk about this massive building here, which is actually the President's Lodge. We have the first female president of Trinity College ever, right now, Dame Hilary Balding, and she lives there with her family, and that's a really nice place. I've been there once when you have to sign this book, which you may have seen in that video. When you join the college, basically, everyone has to sign a book just saying, this is who I am, this is who my parents are, this is what we do, and I'm joining Trinity College. It's a nice tradition, but that's one thing I've done in that building. Actually, it's a really nice building, right? If you think about how big it is compared to the chapel, it's a massive building, but I'm sure she deserves it, and it's a really nice building to look at as well once you see front quad. We're coming up to staircase 5. This is the staircase I live in. Actually, there are a few tutors in there, which I live with. On my floor, it's just me, the showers, the toilets, and the tutors, but it works fine. And we're going to carry on going round to see the last, final few quads of Trinity, which again, as you may have worked out by now, aren't particularly quaddy. They're called quad in name, but they're definitely not quaddy in nature. Okay, so that's number 1, that's number 5, so it makes sense that here we're going to see 2, 3, and 4. Staircase 2 is this side. That's for postgrads, that's for master's students. So we don't spend too much time there, but they have their MCR, which stands for their middle common room. That's a nice space for them to hang out. And staircase 3, which is over here, is for freshers as well. And some freshers live here, including Marsha, who's filming me right now, and I'm going to film him in a second. And I'm very grateful for him because he's putting up with all the problems that I'm having right now. But this is what we call prison quad, because apparently it looks a bit like a prison. Maybe, I guess, if we go onto it, we can see exactly what people talk about. But I guess the idea is this is sort of the barracks where the guards hang out. And actually, if we spin all the way around, we have this, which is Blackwell's bookshop. So actually, what we're going to see now is our own Trinity Library, which is next to Blackwell's bookshop. And Blackwell's bookshop continues right under the college in what's called the Norrington room, which holds some of the classics books, which is where I have to go to buy my books in Blackwell's. But it's named after Arthur Norrington, who was another president at Trinity College, and also invented the Norrington table, which is something about different Oxford colleges and how well they do. I think we've seen a medic in here. Brilliant, let's go annoy him. This is our kitchen. Oh my God. This is Ayush. This is our kitchens. This is for everyone on site. There really isn't that much space, but we make it work. And the idea is we have lots of good food and cheap food in a hall to eat, which means we don't have to use it so much. But of course, some people like to. Amazing. So we're now into the final quad, which is library quad, because that's where our library is. And as we can see kind of the back of this Jackson building here, which is staircase 5, 6, and 7. My room will be one of these, but now we are here in the library as we kind of complete the tour. We're actually, again, as we know, doing building works to kind of the whole college. So we're entering currently through a window, which is kind of weird. We had 4 window panes, and they've made these kind of weird steps to get up into the college. But there we go, that's that. I'll again overlay footage of the library whilst I talk about it, because it's not fair to go in and film. That's probably a bit too much. But we have 3 floors in the library. It's not too big, but that reflects that there aren't too many people living in Trinity. Trinity is a small college, only 80, 85 a year. There's 300 undergrads in total, which represents that 80 a year times by about 3, 240. And then of course we have some 4, 5, 6 year courses. There are a few extra people on top of that. But I prefer to work in the top of the library when possible. I just think it's cool, you get to look over the top. But there's also a downstairs bit where, again, it has more of the STEM books. So I guess some of the STEMists like to work down there. But I do enjoy working in this library sometimes, but that Lawns Pavilion building which we walk past, which I'll also overlay footage of now, is also quite convenient sometimes because maybe it's a bit warmer, it's slightly closer to my staircase maybe, your friends work there, and that works absolutely fine. But there we go. Maybe I'll do another tour in a few years' time when Trinity is all fully built, and it'll be weird to see the difference. But thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.